What's up? What's good? I had to come to this coffee shop today, take a break from the chaos going on, and I wanted to tell you about a situation that is happening. And I'm gonna tell you something that sounds really crazy, and the dark reality is, in my opinion, this is my belief that this reality, if you are tapped in a way that is conducive to your success, plus it also it exposes the dark reality. Okay, you can become successful in this reality, but if you do it in such a way that exposes the dark reality, not because like that's your aim, I'm going to expose this dark reality, right? But it will try to stop you. Okay, uh, and so that means anybody could go out and start a business. Like, I live in Rock Hill Modern Dentistry. Like, you start a dentist business, you can start a coffee shop, a restaurant, right? And you could succeed, but if you kind of break the curse of reality in a way that exposes the reality, it will attack you, which is what I have done, right? So imagine a character that this is a story of this character. He's on some kind of spiritual journey and a mission in this land, and he's a magical character, or she, right? And he's trying to get from point A to point B in his life, and so he ends up uh, come getting it. He gets clear on what his false reality really is, right? He becomes clear that he's in a fake world, and he's pushing his way out of it, and this reality is aware that if he becomes aware, then it begins to attack him, right? If he becomes aware of his place, in the same way, in the Truman Show, Truman started to become aware, right? He's started to become aware, and uh, and then everybody around him noticed that he started to become aware, right? And if you're not familiar with the Truman Show, then go check out that movie and then come back. It's free, I believe, on YouTube. But he lives in a fake world, and the moment he begins to become aware of it, and he begins to slowly start to wake up to it and get to the truth, then those around him that are pitted against him, uh, they begin to maneuver and manipulate the circumstances so that they can stop him. And so that's their whole goal. So imagine someone that's truly like in a spiritual type of Truman Show, right? And with each little movement that you make towards achieving, your personal aim, your self-actualization, and living a life where you're free, where like Truman is free, right? Imagine that, you know, imagine you or a character or somebody that lives in that type of reality. So what I'm saying, what I'm getting at is this reality actually does do that, right? It actually does attack you and begin to maneuver against you. And you notice throughout the film that the more he does it, at first they're just doing little things to try to stop him and distract him. And then as you get further into it, it begins to do it even more. And it'll even go through the process of potentially killing you or enacting violence on you to try to stop you, right? So that's literally what my life has been like. So all of my life, and I've told people, if you actually physically hang around me day to day, and I have, okay, let me get clear. Hold on. If you physically hang around me day to day, like you hang out with me, or you stay in touch with me every single day, like you will see anomalous occurrences, right? You will see anomalous occurrences where strange things are always happening that are unusual and anomalous, right? To where, and they're outside of my control. And even recently, over the past a little over 3 months now, I've been going live on TikTok. So I've developed a little like small community, right, of people that join me most every single day, right, on my TikTok. And we all talk about different things. We don't talk about this topic necessarily, even though it has been brought up. We don't necessarily talk about this topic, uh, but what they have noticed, for example, is glitches in my TikTok specifically, because those are people on TikTok, so they watch other people's lives and stuff. And just last night, it kept glitching, it kept booting me off, and the people on there were saying, I've never seen anybody. Billy has like the worst luck on TikTok. Like, it's constantly freezing up, and and he's always getting booted off, and they get booted off because they join me in the window to talk back and forth. So they're not just typing, they're in the little windows like live with me and talking back, and we're discussing back and forth. And when she said that, I think she said, I wonder why, or something like that. And I was like, oh, I know why. I know why. Because I've told them kind of about this. I was like, it's this reality. I was like, this reality doesn't want me to succeed. And so any step of the way that I move forward, it's constantly trying to stop me. And it really is, right? So, for example, I stayed for the past 3 years. I have lived in where I've only been able to work job to job where I never have saved any money. Like, I don't save money. I live job to job. I don't make enough money to like get ahead. I don't have a safety net or a cushion to start from. So what happens is, since I've never had a safety net or cushion to start from, any amount of money I receive immediately just is gone. So I never get a chance to establish myself economically, simply because every time I make money, I have to give it away. It's really hard for people to comprehend this very simple process, that if you can't save money, you're not going to get ahead, okay? Because here's an indicator. People will be like, well, can't you just put aside this a little bit amount of money? Fucking no, you can't, motherfucker, you stupid idiot. Like, you can't set a money. That's what I've been trying to tell people, because people assume that your revenue, your income is to the point to where you could just put aside some money. They're not used to the idea that you can't put aside money. So if you get hurled out with $0 into this world with no connections and no help, you are not going to get ahead. You're going to go through a redundant money loop. And especially if you get out into the world and all of a sudden, say you have $0, and I don't mean zero as in, oh, I got $23 in the bank and $300 in my savings. God, I have no money. No, you actually do have money. You have $300 in your savings. You have $23 in your checking account. So you do have some money. I'm talking about literally zero, okay? I'm just talking about literally zero, right? So you start from zero or in the negative, right? And then all of a sudden, you've got $800 a month rent, or $1,200 a month rent, right? Everybody's like, well, I would just go work a job. I would work 2 jobs. No, you wouldn't, because mathematically it would not add up. You would never get ahead based on just pure 3rd grade math. Try to do the math. Ask yourself today, if I had $0, this assumes you don't have a place to live either. You don't have a place to live. You have $0, right? But then through some miracle, somebody lets you come stay there, and through some miracle you get $1,200, right? And then so now you've got a whole month to come up with all your bills and expenses, $1,200, and all the other bills and expenses, and you got a kid with you, right? So you're not going to come up with that money. You're not going to come up, or $1,500. You're not going to come up with that money in a month's time. Oh yes, I would. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. If you didn't have any connections, no social support net, you would not have that money. Okay, you would not. So I would be more than glad to debate and argue that with somebody on a live video, right? Because I know somebody in the comments going to be like, "Oh, well, I did that," or blah, blah, blah. But no, don't comment if you don't have the balls to get on a live with me and debate that with me, right? But anyways, so so my point is that for the past 3 years I've been in an economic redundant cycle, right, where I don't save money, but I did get lucky and I found a place to live a couple of times. Each time it's been luck, right? For the past few years, right? Each time it has been luck. Even when we temporarily, my son and I, when he was 12, 13, stayed at the Salvation Army, that was through luck, kind of, because I had a business connection. One of my customers is connected to some people at the Salvation Army, and so I got to skip the line and I got to get a room. That's why we got that room at the Salvation, because there's a waiting list, and my son and I got to skip that. So that was luck, you know. That was luck. And then the other luck was when I left the Salvation Army, I just happened to find a place, and then right when I left that place after a year, I just happened to have another customer who just happened to be renting out their pool house, right at that time, right? And so so for the past 3 years, I've just been living job to job to job to job to job. So with no savings, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes even going into the negative. And I am privileged to a small amount, meaning that, like, I was at least able to have my mother, who, she gets a lot of money. She has a lot of money, right? My mother does. My mother has never worked in her life yet. She has more savings than the average American, right? But that's luck, because it was my grandma that made that happen, and my dad fought in the war, okay? So that's why she gets to live free and never has had to work in her life, right? And has 6 times the savings that the average American has in their bank account, right? Or maybe 10 times the amount of savings. Like, I think the average American has less than $1,000 in their banking account, right? Actually, I'm wrong on that. Yeah, the average American has less than $1,000 in their bank account, from what I hear, and my mom has thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars more than that, right? So, so the dark reality each time has tried to stop me through all these anomalous circumstances in between that kind of keep me down. And so I've been stuck in this pattern, right? And there's no jobs. Working for somebody else is going to pull me out of it. So that's not going to happen, right? So I would love for somebody to tell me what job I'm going to go get working for somebody else that's going to pay me to get out. So anyways, so here's the example of the dark reality trying to stop me now, right? And I mentioned this in other videos, but I'm going to repeat it again and tell you again what I said before. And now it's starting to rain. It wasn't supposed to rain today, but oh well. Maybe I can go over under this umbrella. But so, all right, here's how the dark reality is trying to stop me now. And like I said, I've repeated this, but I'm going to add some stuff to it, and there's some new stuff, okay? So I'm at the last place that I've been staying at for 2 years, and suddenly the owner of the house decides she's going to sell the property. Okay, So this whole time I haven't been able to save any money, right? Because I live job to job to job to job every single month, right? Every week. So I haven't saved any money. So I don't have any money saved up for a deposit on a place or first month's rent, because I literally live job to job to job to job to job. So I have zero savings, right? So my privilege is I get to go stay with my mother for the first time in my life, practically, right? Like, I'm in a scenario where I'm virtually free, right? I'm virtually free, but I don't have any help except for what my mother can help me with, which is fine, right? Which is cool. Like, and I reluctantly, like, I'm doing everything I can to try to avoid going to stay at my mom's, right? Like, I'm looking for campers, I'm looking for apartments, I'm looking for work to live for trade, like, situations where I can go work on the property in exchange for rent, like upkeep their yard maintenance or something, or some kind of arrangement. I'm looking for whatever I can for like years, right? So it's not like I was just like, all these years I've just been not looking, right? I've been looking for years, but especially, up to the point to where we had to move out of our last place. I'm looking for a place, so never could find a place. Ended up going to my mom's, right? Ended up being having to go to my mom's because I got my son with me, right? And he's not ready to get out into the real world yet. He's not prepared to be out in the real world yet. He knows nothing about what to do, how to get out there. I have not had I've not had the chance to be a dad and teach him anything, really. So he's not ready. So we need to get to a place to where I can teach him and we can get established. So I go to my mom's, and as soon as I start making the plans to go to my mom's, right? My mom's been living in that apartment for a year now. Nothing weird goes on at her apartment. Nothing crazy. My sister lives with her. She's 23 or whatever, right? 24. And so my sister's living there, okay? And so she's doing nothing but, just sitting around making TikTok videos. She's just sitting there watching things, listening to things, and then she's ordering DoorDash and, and all this stuff, right? She's just sitting around because she doesn't work. She doesn't do anything. She just lives, right? And enjoys herself at any given moment, like whatever feels fun in the moment. It sounds fun to order some acrylic nails, so she orders some acrylic nails, right, from TikTok shop, and they send it to her, or Amazon, and they send it to her, and she gets to sit in her room and put on her nails. Isn't that cool? It's fun. Oh, that TikTok, look at that TikTok video. So she's just living free, gets to do what she wants. And, but other than that, nothing strange, unusual, nothing out of the ordinary is going on at my mom's for the whole year that she's been living there. Probably over a year. So, check it out. So, the moment I start talking with my mom, and it's about time for us to move out of the apartment, or out of the pool house and into my mom's apartment temporarily, the moment I start making those plans with my mom for us to come stay there for a while, because my mom said I could come stay over there for a while. She told me, hey, if you want a place to stay, you can stay here. That's what she said. So, okay. So now I'm staying here. Now I'm going to go stay over there. I'm still at the pool house. Suddenly, out of nowhere, my sister starts dating this guy, right? And this is a guy that my whole family has known for years. And my sister starts seeing this guy, right? Out of nowhere. So then, that's a new thing. But this is actually just like in the Truman Show when they're trying to manipulate him, and they move in certain characters into his realm to be the actors, like to try to stop him from discovering the truth. In the same way, suddenly this guy is in the picture, right? At first it doesn't look like anything other than, well, they started talking and they started hanging out. And so, but if you see reality through the lens that I do, then you will see that you know that they you will see what I'm talking about, that this is dark reality moving in on me, because now I'm freed up from the pool house. I'm freed from that energy of that lady that was really nearly unbearable, right? And I'm moving forward, right? And so me staying with my mom without having to pay any bills is going to begin to stack my bank account, right? Which it did after I started staying there. It did started to accumulate money in my bank account for the first time in years, just because I don't have expenses. Do I contribute? Yeah, I buy food, I help out, I clean up, I take my mom places when she needs to go. You know, I buy dinner sometimes, and I cook dinner for everybody. You know, it just depends. I contribute back, right? You know, I contribute back, but I'm still able to begin to finally start to put a little bit of money in my bank account, you know, for the first time in years. But in the back of my mind, I was like, I know dark reality is going to try to stop this. The moment it sees me to begin to gain traction and headway, it's going to try to stop me. So I go to, I begin making the plans. She meets that guy, and then as soon as I move in, my sister starts hanging out around this other guy who she's basically just using for attention. He appears out of nowhere, but suddenly this man is like, that man is obsessed with her, right? And so she's got the one guy that she's banging, and then she's got the other guy who does all the nice things for her and gives her gifts and helps her out and buys her stuff and gets her stuff, who she's not giving it up to. And so he's giving, you know, so that's the way that's going down, right? And she's hanging out with that guy who has romantic interest. But he appeared out of nowhere. Never met the guy, never knew the guy, never seen the guy, nothing. Claims to know my brother loosely or something like that. I don't know. Nobody's ever mentioned him, but he appears out of nowhere. Almost like he's a character that's been sent, right? So since I've been living there, I've had to break up a potential fight between the boyfriend and him, and I had to break up a fight, and then so that's making it look bad. So that's the dark reality sends the other guy. So now there's drama for me to deal with. So then my famous brother had a dog that he neglected, right? But in my opinion, neglected. Like, the dog was scared and like wouldn't come out to talk with you, and it would growl at you and nip at you if you tried to like pet it. But eventually, over time, finally I got that dog used to not being like that and made it friendly, right? Basically, I contributed to helping make it friendly, to be fair. But here's the thing: my sister brings that dog over to my mom's house, right? And that's going against the lease. So now this is happening. Now that's going against the lease, and so you're not allowed to have a dog. You could get kicked out for having not, you know. So now we're concerned about that, and my sister's like semi takes care of the dogs and is also neglectful. Like, so if the dog shits on the floor, she might even let the shit sit there without cleaning it up. So it's pretty gross. So then finally we get that dog gone, right? Finally goes back to my brother. He can't have the dog here, and it becomes this like drama thing. It's just a negative energy. So the dark reality, of course, it's my brother. He's immersed in the dark reality. and it's his dog. So that's dark reality sending the fucking dog, right? So now we got that dog to deal with. So now there's the potential for us getting kicked out. Then immediately when I first, but before that, when I first started staying over there the first few days, all of a sudden I had my aunt trying to tell my mom, make sure them boys clean up after themselves and all that bullshit. So I had to curse out my aunt, and I left for a few days. And I stayed in some hotels. And I was like, fuck. I was like, it's already starting within the first few days of me being there. But a couple of these things began to happen before I started going there. Kind of like storm clouds gathering, right? Sends the boyfriend. And I get there, and then my sister starts hanging around with the other guy who appeared out of nowhere, right? So in my mind, I'm seeing this. I'm like, this is dark reality right here. Trying to make a move in. But I'm continuing forward. I'm keeping on working. I'm keeping on doing my thing, right? So, I'm not letting it bother me, even though it is stressing me out. I'm not gonna lie. But what I'm saying is there's a part of me that just lets it happen. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense, like to where, I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna stay focused on working, right? So I start to accumulate money, right? A little bit of money. I'm getting more jobs than it's been a very busy season so far. And I've got people calling me like every time a job is done, somebody else is calling me. Might be my most active year yet, too. So dark reality sees that as a threat, because I might get ahead. And if I get ahead and I get to that stability, right, then suddenly that means that how I live my life is going to reveal the dark reality, and that's the threat against the dark reality. So then, so now my sister, so we get rid of this dog, right? Suddenly, the guy that came out of nowhere suddenly brings over a pit terrier / half-breed with husky little puppy over, and it's a friendly dog, but it's very active and very, it's very social, but it's also like it'll cry when it's not around people. So it's like codependent kind of, right? And so this dog is just like, so anyways, besides that, plus those things, I tried to look it up and I couldn't find anything. And I figured, I don't know much about dogs, but I figured that was probably also the kind that has that attacks and harms its owners and deletes its owners or something, kills their owners, right? So I'm thinking, is that the same dog that does that? I was like, after all, it does have husky in it and pit bull. Come on, right? Like, this is going to become a big violent dog one day. But I mean, according to my research, I couldn't find anything that said that. They said that they had to be trained very early on. And I'm thinking, my sister's not going to train that dog. And then now, all of a sudden, get rid of one dog. Now it brings another dog, right? Oh my fucking God. So now the stress is back, and it's worse because of the type of dog. And she lets these dogs shit and piss and shit, and she's semi-neglectful towards these animals, right? And so now it's a stress. So now we're under the stress of having a pet. And now the apartment's, like, at any time the apartment may come and do an inspection, so there's the threat of being kicked out before you can get ahead, right? So then this brings in gnats and fruit flies. Now, because of my sister's neglect, now there's gnats and fruit flies all in the apartment, and I'm sitting there killing them all the time. This is the dark reality trying to attack me. So finally, this past week especially, I'm on full force trying to like get that dog the fuck out of there, and so that we don't get kicked out. And remember, none of this started happening. Everything was normal at my mom's until I showed up, right? Until I was coming to show up, because it would give me the stability that I need to begin to build a foundation to get ahead, right? So it's only a matter of time before I arrive that something crazy is going to happen out of nowhere, outside of my control. So finally Saturday, I craft up this letter. I go to the library. I print off this letter that's like a warning from the apartment complex, from the management. No unauthorized pets. This rule will be strictly enforced. We will kick you out of the apartment if we find you in violation of the lease. So, in a professional way, I drew that up, I wrote that up, and I printed it out on a flyer and I taped it onto the door of the apartment. So, why would I not just put my foot down and tell my sister, like, just to get gone? Like, you have to get rid of this dog, right? Well, I'm trying to minimally involve myself in that, right? So, excuse me. I'm trying to be minimally involved in that situation, and so I'm just trying to use some kind of psychology to put the pressure on her, and it actually works. She starts the process of trying to find a place to get rid of the dog, right? So we're trying to find a place to get rid. So she's starting to work on it. But here's the thing: she's not scared. She's like, okay, well, I guess I gotta get rid of it. You know, almost like she's enjoying this too. Like she's enjoying, like, the attention all this gives her for being the one that's causing all the chaos. It's like she gets a little kick out of it. It's a little narcissism going on, right? And she's unfazed by the fact that that she might get kicked out. She's unfazed, right? Completely unfazed. So, but she's also feeling the pressure, right? Um, so we begin the process. So I texted that guy that came out of nowhere yesterday, and I asked him, could you please come and pick up this dog? Because now my sister's under the impression that the apartments are coming to do an inspection. Because also on that paperwork, I wrote on that paper that we're doing inspections within the next 48 hours, right? On that paper, right? And so finally, that happens, and then there's the old lady that lives next to my mom on the next apartment over, right? And who apparently she's monitoring everything, or somebody is, because it's Saturday, nobody's at the apartment office, the maintenance men aren't there, and my sister's boyfriend, the guy she's actually dating, he parks his truck by the dumpster, and so somebody calls and says, or the property management messages my mom, say, hey, you know, how many vehicles do you got there? Are you, you know, you can only have two. You know, is that green truck parked by the dumpster? You know, and it was actually his. He parked it instead of parking in the parking lot. Because even the guy she's actually dating is also sent by the dark reality, right? Because he was the first one sent. So then we clarify that it's not one of us, and we tell them we're going to move it. And so now the office, weirdly, the same day that I wrote that letter, the office get a complaint. Effectively, it's a complaint, and it's probably that old lady. And we hear that she, you know, I don't know, that she potentially, like, is kind of like the eyes, right? So then we're trying to get. I'm doing my best, and you know, so also, as I mentioned before, the moment we start living there, my sister starts smoking weed, which she had never done. I mean, she smoked weed in the past, but now she's starting to smoke weed regularly. But apparently, or my understanding of it is, it's not illegal stuff. It's stuff that she gets from the vape store back here behind me. Like, she gets it from there, and apparently, or allegedly, it's like she's not going out and getting it from. She's getting this, like, stuff that doesn't contain THC in it or something. I don't know what she's doing, but anyways, so it stinks. But still, like, the point is it's kind of like, it's annoying, but it's also a concern, because, you know, if there are reports of weed, that could be another thing and I don't think they allow smoking in the apartment anyway. But anyway, that's another thing to add to it. So she's totally hijacked by the dark reality. Uses her, right? And so so finally, you got all this stuff going on, and that was within the past couple days, and now it's Tuesday, or yeah, today it's Tuesday. Now it's Tuesday, and my mother gets a text from the office. Says, "Does your daughter have a pet?" Boom, that's it. The apartment, it. So that's another thing. The apartment smells now. It smells like dog, and and then so yesterday, or no, the day before yesterday, as we're in the process of getting rid of the dog, my sister starts hanging around that guy again, and she comes home with a kitten. Okay, so now she's bringing a kitten into it. So we haven't even gotten rid of the dog yet, and she's brought a kitten over. So so now the kitten is involved, and the kitten is there. So so then today, my mom gets a text. The kitten and the dog are here now, and so my mom gets a text. Hey, does your daughter have a pet over there? And so apparently, how would she know that? Well, for one, could have been one or two things. That old lady told on us, or either that old lady told on us, or the fucking the neighbors upstairs potentially could have reported it to the apartments because they they could have reported it to the apartments because that dog whines at night, at times, right? And so could have been anything, but now the apartments know. So here's the deal. Here's what's happening. We're getting kicked out. Okay. they So my sister, she's all like, well, they sell like pet odor remover at the store, and I was like, at this point, you're gonna have to take everything out of your room, and it's all trashed. Clean it up, take everything out of your room, off the carpet, shampoo the carpet, then put the pet odor stuff on it. And even then, I was like, it's too far gone. The whole apartment smells like piss and shit, and there's gnats everywhere. And that odor remover isn't going to take everything off, take everything away. It's still going to smell like pet. It's only going to minimally remove, the odors from it, right? And so I told my mother, I was like, here's what you got to do, okay? I was like, here's what you got to do. You could do one of two things, okay? Or here's what's going to happen: one or two of two things. Either they're going to kick my sister out because even though she's like mentally like an obnoxious 12-year-old, to the apartment complex, she's a 25-year-old woman. So they're either gonna. I was like, you need to tell the apartments the truth. I was like, you need to tell them that my daughter brought a pet in here, and I've been trying to make her get it out, and she won't. And you've been trying to tell her multiple times, and she will not do what you say, right? And so you need to tell them that the truth, because that's the only thing that's going to allow you to keep this apartment potentially, because they're either going to kick her out and say that she has to go, or they're going to kick you out and evict you because you have technically broken the lease at this point. and now they know, and you can't tell them no. And my mother says, well, can I text them and tell them that we got a dog in here today, but it's leaving today? I was like, no, mother, because that makes it look like you did break the lease and you've been having a dog at your house and that you broke the lease. I was like, your only way out is tell them that she brought the dog over, and they're either going to kick her out or they're going to kick us all out. I was like, the only thing you can do is just tell the truth at this point, depending on what you want to do. And so that's where we're at. We're probably getting kicked out, most likely. And here's the thing, here's the craziest part of this. Maybe the craziest part. My mom, if they kick, my mom's leaving that. We're going to get kicked out. Okay, so here's the thing. That will give us 30 days, I guess. So this affects me because my mom. Okay, let me try to put this together. Okay, so my mom is not going to leave my sister. If they kick my sister out, my mom's going to be like, well, they're kicking us out. My mom won't stay at that apartment if they kick my sister out. She's going to find a place to where she can bring my sister with her, period, no matter what, right? Despite the disrespect that she gives my mother and the dysfunction of it all, my mother's going to take her wherever she goes because my mom is her prime enabler, right? And obviously if they kick her, y'all, this is insane. Those apartments are right over there across the street from where I'm at, right behind those bushes. Can't see them, but right on the other side of this traffic light is the apartments, and right across the street is a grocery store. And then right across the block where I'm at is a coffee shop and a vape store and a general store and some restaurants. This is the perfect place. My mom has a 2-bedroom apartment for $1,000 fucking a month. She has an apartment for $1,000 a month. And so shit, if I could get into this apartment, I would be willing to risk it. But I probably can't. On the good side, my credit isn't bad. It's just not good. So I doubt that I'll be able to convince them to look, because I could say, hey, I'll take over the lease, give them $1,000. But I doubt they'll let me do that. So because what I'm saying though is my mom, she's letting this great situation slip through her fingers. She's never going to find another place in this kind of location for that great amount of rent. It ain't going to happen. Not in this area. She got a steal and she's letting it fall. So it's the dark reality attacking us, me, and I'm the reason why this is happening technically, because it wants to stop me, and this stops me. And what I was going to say is this affects me because if my mom has to move out now, even though she does have thousands of dollars, my mom has offered to help me get a camper, and I went and looked at a camper Saturday, right, or Sunday. I went and looked at a camper. I'm highly thinking about getting it, and I went to the campground to see how much the rent costed at the campground, and it's a great deal, right? It is a great deal. Fuck, right? For the camper and the campground, and my mom, but I've not jumped on it yet because I've just been waiting for the circle. I've been waiting I want to make it. I don't want to make an impulse purchase, right? I want to be well thought out and well planned out and know what my options are. But it's pushing me to the point where I may have to just go ahead and get it, right? Because it's my only living option at the moment. Because we are getting kicked out, in my opinion, unless something that I'm not thinking about happens, or something that I'm not aware of, or my brain isn't working out all the systems. Like, in my opinion, we are most 99% sure that we're getting kicked out of this apartment. And and the office, they were just about to put our names on the lease so that we're legally there too. And what else? And so this affects me, because if my mom has to move out, that means that she has to find another place. And guess what that means? She has to get a new deposit. She's not getting her deposit back from here. Fuck no. My sister has destroyed that bedroom. My mom's not getting a deposit back. So now my mom's going to have to be looking for a place. She's going to she's going to have to be looking for a place now. She's going to have to pay more rent. So now that affects me, because now will she help me get a camper now that she's going to get kicked out, and now she's going to have to fork out thousands of dollars for a new place, because it's going to be $2,000 for this camper, $700 for the deposit on the campground, and another $700 for the first month's rent. So we're looking at $35 something $100, $35 to $4,000 just for me to get moved into a campground. So that's how it affects me, right? Because my mom was going to help me out, and I don't have that money right now yet. The whole point of me staying over there is to stack money. And once it started to stack, once I started to get ahead, this is my main emphasis here. Once I started to get the stability, once I found the camper, all these things are happening, and it's trying to stop me.